beautiful day for us because for the first time we are the Colombo University, the Alumni Association of Tourism, Economics and Hospitality Management has organized the Tourism Expo here at One Golf Face Mall as they have extended their support towards us. For the last couple of days, starting from Monday, we were having the Tourism Expo on the first floor where all the vendors, we have extended our support to all the vendors in the country where we are trying to boom. We are trying to help them to move with the crisis when it comes to business development. And again, as an extension of the Tourism Leaders Summit, we have organized these panels where on the first day we were discussing about the survival, recover and resilience. And on the second day, yesterday, we were discussing innovative business development in crisis. And again, tomorrow we'll be discussing about connectivity and competitiveness. So as you can see, today we have valuable contributors, panelists to discuss about the inclusive and integrated tourism. So again, I had to mention here, we are parallel to the UN-WTO celebrations. We had our Tourism Leaders Summit on the 27th of September and again the Tourism Research Conference on the 22nd of October. So I will, without taking much time, we will be moving into the panel discussion. So I will introduce the panelists one by one once we are going ahead with the first round. So right now I would like to introduce Dr. Sulochana Sigera, where she's been working very closely with the Colombo University, and she is an exceptional character. I have a lot, but I will give you a little bit of her, where she just won the Businesswoman of the Year Sri Lanka 2020 last year from the Global Ranking and Finance Review website. So congratulations, madam, for that. And again, she is a corporate trainer, mentor, counselor. So she's an investor in goodwill, and what she specializes in is like women in management. So today's topic is very relevant to us, where we can get her insights and all the suggestions and recommendations where we can take the tourism into another level. Madam, we know inclusive tourism is something, it's not a new word as well these days, like we are working on it. So along with that, if I ask you, what is women in management? Like a lot of people talk about employment when it comes to male and female ratios, how it should be increased. So what is women in management? I would like to hear from you and the audience as well, madam.
Okay, thank you. So I'm not sure whether you're asking about the organization or I'll just put it on the women in management. They say women in good in managing. I'm sure they are good in managing. And also women in good in leading also, right? Because end of the day, we all will agree it's women who runs the family. But why we need women in to make decision making, not just managing, is not just representing a gender. We should understand the leadership has no gender, and also management doesn't have a gender. It's about how you make decisions. So sometimes women make strategical decisions while men make situational leadership, right? So women see what's coming in the future. When men see short-termly, they take risk and they take decisions. So that's called women in management, because if biologically we are given to think about the future than the present. And why women in management matters to, especially to Sri Lanka and tourism, is why inclusive? Because tourism is now part of Sri Lankan economy, which we are witnessing it, right? So it's not just getting women into the management portion in tourism or getting them into the functional jobs. It's about what they bring with their gender to the tourism. Tourism is a touch of human, and Sri Lanka, it says, you give that care, you give that people to come back to our country. So I think Sri Lankan women are unique on that, because they think about whoever comes as a guest as honorable person and whom you have to treat. So that itself, you need women to be included in tourism, not just as a gender, but as a professional inclusive. So I would prefer if, say, it's not just women in get women to manage a tourism industry or hospitality industry. I would say get women thoughts and women's view on decision making of going forward. And I think COVID-19 has proven women are more resilient than male leadership. It does not mean that men are weak, but women instinct itself has given the resilience to face a crisis and come out. So I think tourism industry need to rethink about not just getting women, but how to get men and women working together as businesses, as professionals, and make tourism industry more profitable business as well as quality tourism. Not quantity tourism, quality tourism.
Sure, sure. Thank you, Doctor. What I think is like when you mention about the genes, it's all about, like, we can start from the family structure where the mother is playing a role where she makes decisions while she's protecting the family. So when we have women, like as you said, like if we can get their thoughts, so that will be the process for us to maybe face the crisis in the future. So we will have decisions where everything will be analyzed, isn't it?
Yeah, because COVID-19, women doesn't want their family to get sick, right? So in same way, if you are opening up the tourism, get women to come forward. They will ensure the country will be protected because they will not risk their family. Same way, they will not risk the country. So I think it's high time if we think as Sri Lankans and human beings rather than putting us at men and women and ticking the boxes and say, oh, the number of men are here, number of women are here. We have to forget about the gender. We have to look at the thinking, the attitude, and also the resilient and how they are proactive. Those are the things we have to look at. And I'm sure if women come forward together with the industry experts, we will find more way of opening the country for better tourism and a safe tourism.
True. Thank you, Doctor. Now I will move to another exceptional character. He has a military background. He's an exceptional character because, like, for this topic, it's so relevant, and his background has supported that. He's the first Commissioner General for the rehabilitation in Sri Lanka, and again, he was the military spokesman for the Ministry of Defence and senior intelligence officer as well. Currently, he's working as the secretary to the Ministry of Industry, General Dayaratnayaka. So thank you for coming and joining with us today. So, industrial sector, it's like that's more like the bloodline of a country's economy. When it comes to a vibrant industry like that, how do you see the current tourism sector in Sri Lanka? How do you see as a secretary of the industries by representing that organization? How do you see the Sri Lankan tourism?
Thank you, Madhushan, for giving us this opportunity. And quite strange, it is somewhat like opening and people are watching, and this is quite unusual. So very good place for public speaking. So thank you very much for getting us here and giving this opportunity. First thing. So how do we see, from the Ministry of Industry, how do we see tourism? Actually, we all think, as Sulo was mentioning, we must bring in more dollars, we must bring in, consider it as a commercial venture. Yes, it is, and it is bringing so much revenue to our country, and it is one of the top industries where we have, at the top level industry, we bring in a lot of dollars in that. A large number of people are being employed, and all, when you think of the infrastructure and other things, everything, it is one of the top industries which bring a lot of revenue to this country. That's true. But is it the right way? So everyone is thinking that yes, it is the industry that we must develop to bring in more dollars, more money into this country. That is how people, this is, I'm not just saying when you post this, when you gave us this outline, I was just talking to some people, since I don't have that much of personal hands-on experience in the industry. I was talking to some people known to me and asked this question, what do you expect from this tourism, bringing in tourists to our country? And everyone, almost everyone was saying yes to bring in more dollars. That was as a commercial venture. But I have been a soldier throughout and we have been fighting. So for 20-25 years we have been fighting without a solution. Day by day it was aggravating more and more. So we went around the world for finding solution, went to US and top countries and small countries. Finally we went into Africa also to bringing solution to our problem, but we couldn't find a solution. Then we started looking inward. When we started looking inward how to find a solution, then we found a solution. When you look at, so then we realized, then I had the chance of developing the concept of operation called concept of humanitarian operation. That is where we finally won the war. And that was our own. And it's based on 4 fundamentals. So we made a kind of a paradigm shift in that. That is not many people know, no university coming forward to study this, professor, and no one is taking interest. But as a soldier, I'm telling you, we went deep into it and we realized there is no solution unless we go into a paradigm shift. What is a paradigm shift there, Manjushan? All this time we have been thinking it was the worst terrorists in the world, the most dangerous terrorists in the world. We have to go and annihilate them. That was the objective. This is what we have been given by the Western doctrines. That is what we have been trained for. So it was not bringing in solution. Then we got our original thinking, say, and inward and say, people have different views and opinions. So all in a society when you are living in. So when you have these different views and opinions, only the society become a nice place for us to stay together. So in order to survive or live in a society, you got to train your mind to live in such a society. Then when we marginalize people in a community or some group, the younger generation from that community revolt against the system. That is how it happens. These are people who have been taken by force into a system. That's why we consider the paradigm shift was, Professor, the most dangerous terrorists, we thought they are victims. That was the victims. We went into war, or rather, we went into operation to rescue those people. That's why we call it humanitarian operation. Then based on certain, I don't want to explain that in a tourism discussion, but I am saying when we became original, so this is how we got success. Likewise, so Europe and the most disciplined countries can come and still stay here. So this is a superb place. We have all, it's a reflection of the entire world like. So the nature, the beauty, the heritage that we have, all that we have to offer. More than that, what I'm saying, so many things that we have, the agriculture system, irrigation system, our heritage, the people, the quality of people. Then more than that, the spiritual side of it, the Theravada Buddhism that we have. It is one of the most important things, and a lot of people are looking for. The mindfulness people are talking about. So these are things. There are 320 million people under stress today. They're looking for solutions. So we have started a thing called Mindfulness Center, so Sati Pasala. So through that we are approaching. The large number of people are coming here. So if you look at these things, we have generosity, we have sympathy, empathy, love, all these things we have to offer to the world. These are original, they're ours. So if we can offer these things and go to a paradigm shift rather than getting dollars, giving it, that I think we will be able to, this is my thinking, we will be able to do better than what we are doing today. So in the absence of a solution to this pandemic here, And we could have offered many things. We have solutions to the problems that the entire world is going through, if you really go into it. So, as soldiers, when we don't have solutions in the normal system, what we go deep into it and go to the cause and effects theory, Hetupala Dhamma that we have. If you look into it, we can give a lot of solutions. So if I'm haphazardly, I'm talking without in a logical form, but if you go deep into the things that we have to offer to the world, it's much more than we are trying to offer. So that is my thinking.
Yeah.
Look at it from a different perspective. That is my thinking.
Thank you, General. It's really interesting because like different individuals look at this in different ways. Like your way of seeing the problem is very new to us as well when it comes to the paradigm shift, and again looking at how we can bounce back by adjusting certain components, integrating our hospitable nature into the system. So thank you very much on that, General. And again, next I'll be moving into another exceptional character, another individual who has turned certain industries ahead. So he is an entrepreneur and an agriculture engineer, and he's into tourism as well when it comes to sport fishing and diving. Let me welcome the chairman of Export Development Board, Mr. Suresh Dimel. Thank you, sir. So we know that the Export Development Board plays a major role. From the GDP, it contributes around maybe 12% if I'm not mistaken. So when it comes to economy, we know that you play a larger role. You have a huge responsibility. So how do you see the current economy, and like what do you see in the future, in the near future, sir?
Thank you very much. First of all, I want to thank Professor Suranga for inviting me, and building awareness, I think, is the most important thing in economies. And from an export development standpoint, tourism also is a service export, and we hope that we have to first, we are a very diverse country. Our diversity is unmatched in a way in an island like Marco Polo revealed. So whether it's exports or tourism, we have a lot to offer. I feel that is part of our challenge, because we have a tendency to offer everything to everybody, and sometimes maybe even force things, okay? Somebody who wants to lay on the beach, we may take them up to Sigiriya. Or somebody who wants to see Sigiriya, we might take them to see Yala or something like that, So we must first, one of the challenges in exports as well is that we have to identify the markets that we want to cater to. Now this is a priority for the Export Development Board right now, because in order to get the highest value for a premium product, we have to reach out to a premium market. I see a lot of similarities between tourism and exports, and this applies to both, is that we have to find the segment of the market that we are reaching out to. Every day I speak about this because I feel there is a mindset change, a paradigm shift that needs to happen to understand the market that we are catering to. And I would like very much to, I explain this by using the example of an automobile to explain what a market segment is. In an automobile you will know there is a Maruti, there's a Toyota, there's a Mercedes, and then there is a Lamborghini. Those are four distinctly different market segments. People who buy a Maruti may not be able to afford a Toyota. People who can afford a Toyota are not going to buy a Maruti, and the whole thing. So if we have a product that is Lamborghini quality, why are we selling it to the Maruti market? Now we all can think, is there a correlation in tourism? Is there a correlation in exports? In exports, I will tell you, we have the best tea in the world, we have the best cinnamon in the world, we have the best black pepper in the world. Okay? Where do we sell that to? Majority of the cinnamon goes to Mexico, which is a third world country. Majority of the black pepper goes to India. They make more money out of our cinnamon and black pepper than we do. Our gems, which is unique, Sri Lanka is the biggest producer of colored stones in the world. We send our gems to Thailand, and Thailand makes 10 times more money out of our gems than we do. Now, what's wrong? Now, if I bring an example of tourism, right? Are we promoting more than we are developing? That's a question I like to pose to the tourist board especially, because there is a lot of promotion that we do, but we don't develop the product. How do we develop the product? Now, if you take Galle, Mirissa, Tangala, was there any tourism development in those areas? Arugambe, our favorite hotspots, tourism hotspots. Now, we were number one in Lonely Planet. What did the tourist board have to do with that? Tangala was, nobody even knows. Tangala was the one who created that. And I have an industry in Tango, so I know. How we did was the number one beach in the world. It's the Maracolya beach in Tango. Nobody celebrates that even. But we don't realize that those were SME tourism, even micro-level tourism, that developed organically. Galle, same story. Mirissa, same story. This all started with Hikkadwa in the 60s. Nobody developed Hikkadwa, this is the hippies. The hippie people came and developed Hikkadwa, right? So now why, if at that time we intervened and made it a high-class destination, okay? First of all, I like to, because this is a tourism forum, I like to mention this. We can, why did people go to Hikkadwa? For the reef, because we have the most beautiful diving reef close to the shore in Hikkadwa. As kids, we used to snorkel, and there were just a few glass-bottom boats. We used to go and see this beautiful coral reef. I don't think anyone in the younger generation has seen that, the beauty of the coral reef that we used to see. What happened? It became a tourist hotspot, okay? Then there was a fisheries harbour that was built to move the fishing boats away from the reef. And then all the fishing boats went to the side, but all the glass-bottom boats, which started with, like in 1990, there were 20 boats, I think. Today there are 80 boats, glass-bottom boats. But there is nothing to see. And these are kerosene boats. For 30 years, I have tried to convince the tourist board to get electric motors on those boats, because that kerosene has killed the coral. Today, in the hotels in Hikkadwa, you can't open the windows at night, during the day, because of the smell of kerosene. That is what I say tourism development needs to happen. And it is SME tourism development also that needs to happen, because it's the SMEs that a politician also wants. So unless we create a strong SME sector, it is in exports, I could go on and on and on with stories of today, every high quality producer or exporter has limitations, not enough supply, because the quality of the product we are getting from the supplier is not up to export quality, right? So my conclusion is we have to develop our SME sector to develop this country's economy, and that is my number one advice or recommendation. And General Daya and I spent a webinar this weekend, a couple of days ago, I think, and we were with the regional chambers of commerce. And for them it was a thrill to have the chairman of VDB and the secretary of Ministry of Industries, people like us, because nobody takes, nobody like that comes to talk to them, right? And that's how we have to empower the SME sector. And I know Professor Suranga has constantly supported this SME development and development of tourism, educating suppliers. And these are the things that, and Madam talked about the importance to develop the female community in this country. Today if you ask the tourism hoteliers, they will say one of the biggest challenges we have is the lack of women. In the hospital, you can't have a hospitality industry without women, So we have to train. It's absolutely necessary. So these are some ground realities that we need to discuss and understand and do. So,
Thank you, sir.
Long answer for a short question.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. As you mentioned, sir, the marketing segments are very important to the country. Just we need to see how or where are you going to sell, as you brought in examples as well from the export industry. And again, very important to develop the SME sector as well, because a lot of people are engaged. So indirectly and indirectly, a lot of people are engaged even on different layers of outer the city or the country. Like when we talk about Arugambe, maybe Jaffna, indirectly a lot of people are getting their income. So maybe we need to develop that as you suggested, sir. Thank you for that, sir. And I'll be moving into our next panelist, one of the exceptional characters in the travel industry in Sri Lanka. He is the vice president to the Sri Lankan inbound tour operators, and again he has a real interest in sustainability development and again CSR projects as well. So let me welcome Mr. Nishad Jatunga. He has been closely working with the university for the last couple of years as well. Sir, now, since we are in the tourism industry, we had a lot of problems for the last couple of years, as you know. Still, it is not been solved, as we know. Right now, we know that certain individuals are coming into the country, because 2 days back, even the Director General of Tourism Development Authority mentioned that we are getting people 20,000, 30,000 people into the country. So now your sector is being a little bit activating, and you are bringing in more tourists to the country. That's your forte when it comes to the inbound tourists. Now, when you're making your tours, or maybe when you're giving the product, when you're offering the product, so what are the challenges that you currently face? It's complex, I guess. So I just want to know, and our audience would like to know, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Suranga, for inviting us. So the challenges, if I just go back and start with the numbers, I think from a tourism point of view, it's a good feeling to say we had so many tourists. We had 9,000 tourists, we had 10,000 tourists, and we have so many tourists since, But I'm not criticizing or anybody, but I just want to tell you what the ground reality is, okay? So if you take that number, or the numbers that are being said, it's correct. We have had foreigners arriving into the country, but majority, 80 to 90% of that number are actually mostly Indians coming here for quarantine, because when they are going back to the Middle East to work, quarantine in Sri Lanka is accepted. And I think even yesterday, personally, we were trying to find hotels down in Hambantota. You will know what I'm talking about. Except for 2 or 3 hotels, the rest are all doing quarantine business or level 1, which means those are unvaccinated people who are coming and they have to be in a bubble. So yes, tourism opened. 21st of January, they opened the airport since March last year. We all struggled. We had zero income, especially the inbound tour operators, because we had nothing. Whereas at least in the hotel sector, when the lockdowns opened up, they were able to give offers to locals and do something and get some kind of income. So we really have struggled a lot. But since opening in January, there have been a considerable number of tourists, no doubt, genuine tourists, but actually a major part of that number have been actually quarantine people coming here to do 2 weeks quarantine and then get back to their jobs or whatever, right? So that said, the challenges as DMCs or destination management companies, the challenges that we have faced were actually the protocols. But that said, it is us who actually came up with those protocols. In June, July last year itself, we started talking to this Tourism Development Authority. We were telling them, listen, we need to start this. We can't go on like this. And that is how the whole bubble concept was born. That is how this whole concept of moving around in a bubble. I still remember we sitting around a table and discussing this and talking about, okay, yeah, we do a bubble, but what happens if somebody in the bubble gets test positive? Then we came up and then we thought, okay, then who's going to pay for their, COVID treatment? That's how the idea of a COVID-specific insurance was born. So all of this was taken in, and then of course the SLTE did a lot of work and then came up with the protocols. And I must say at the beginning, even with those protocols, we were able to open in December, January, and those bubbles really worked. Yes, there was a lot of negative publicity at the beginning, because I think one of the first groups, people were, I mean, they were not 100% sure. It was like what was going on, so they went out of the bubble and all that. But that was very quickly brought into check, and therefore it started moving fairly good. And I must say, of the tourists who came in, while the SLTDA had full 100% control over who was coming in as a tourist to this country, because everything had to go through them first. Even if it was the DMC that was doing the thing, we had to send all the information to them first, then they checked it, and only then they allowed even the Sri Lanka's ETA system, which is handled by immigration, was changed to accommodate this check. So with that, during that time, until recently, while that check was going on, and the tourists who came in were all tested. They did sometimes, if they were here for a week, 10 days, 2 weeks, sometimes 3, 4, 5 PCRs were done. And out of those tourists who came, it was less than 1% who actually tested positive for COVID. And they were looked after, and they recovered, and they were sent back. No one got serious, no one died, none of the tourists, I mean, right? And there was no evidence at all of COVID spreading from these people to the community. So I think I strayed a little bit from your question, but getting back to it, yes. So we are very happy that we were able to lobby and systematically we got the various protocols eased off, and now, as at now, any tourist who has been fully vaccinated, and when we say fully vaccinated, that means they have had to have both vaccines, and they have to travel to Sri Lanka minimum 14 days after their second shot. We had a situation a couple of days ago where somebody came in 7 days after the second shot. they were turned back at the airport. So they had to be moved to a secure place, and then 2 days later they were sent back. So even now, even though SLTE is not controlling, even all of that is happening, still with the health authorities, we take that responsibility. As responsible DMCs, we are very, very, very careful. So if a person is fully vaccinated, after negative PCR 72 hours prior to their arrival, they are allowed to come and travel like pre-COVID times. They can move around, there is no issue. Similarly, there is a big market, especially from Eastern Europe, and they don't take this whole vaccination thing too seriously. So, but similarly, there is a huge demand. But those tourists are mainly just, they are just beach tourists. So they come 2 weeks in one place and they push off. So that way, it's easy to control them, like in the Maldives. In a bubble, you can very easily control them. So those people are coming and they're doing their PCRs, and that's going on. So, so actually, in the run-up to now, the challenges that we really faced were these protocols, which we have now managed to ease to a great extent, and also we are still, in spite of that, we are managing it, and things are going, touch wood, reasonably well. And of course, so that is one of about the COVID protocols. And then the other issue, the challenges that we are having for getting back to tourism as we knew it is, as you know, public transport is not happening. It's a risk, even though the train journeys are there, you can't actually take a chance and put the people on because there is no proper social distancing or anything. So therefore, those experiences we are unable to give to our clients. And of course, the biggest challenge we have now, what we can see now, because tourism is picking up, bookings are looking good from December onwards, even from our major markets in Europe. But the biggest challenge we can see is that the lack of personnel in the industry. People, top class tour guides, chauffeur guides have left the industry. We are short of vehicles because they have, basically people couldn't survive. They've sold their vehicles or they've given it on rent to companies on long term, and they've got out of the industry. Some people, majority of them, I mean the amazing thing is majority of them, probably because they were stuck at home, have taken to agriculture in their own home gardens and in their backyards. So there's a lot of that going on, and as a result, it very, very sadly, we have lost some really good people in the industry, and building that up is going to be a huge challenge. So also to look at the positive side of things, all the reports we get from our partners overseas, our FTO, the foreign tour operators, is that there is a severe pent-up demand, because especially if you take the developed countries like the UK, Europe and Australia and things like that, people went into lockdown, they didn't have work, but the government subsidized, the government gave them money, and they were just sitting at home, earning money, doing nothing, and getting frustrated because they couldn't get out of their house. So now there is a severe pent-up demand, and we can all see the bookings that are coming in on a daily basis. So Sri Lanka being a sort of what we call a long-haul destination, mostly from UK, Europe and those developed countries, what we see is that probably by about March, things will really start picking up. And the biggest challenge that we have, I mean, not only the DMCs, this challenge is the hoteliers as well, is that we have lost a fantastic human resource that we had, and now we have to start from scratch. And also, it is a challenge trying to convince people to come back into the industry. So yes, so from a challenging point of view, those are the problems that we are faced with at the moment. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Yes, as LITO being the apex body of policy making, we have done a fantastic job when it comes to the crisis, sir. So we will see, sometimes when it comes to the government protocols, sometimes when it comes to specifically tourism policies, we see the changes and how it was been developing in such a way we can accommodate all the stakeholders. So yeah, and again, you're talking about the skilled personnel that we require to run the industry, which is very important. A lot of people have been moving into other countries, moving into other sectors, which is very unfortunate, I guess. So hopefully we will bounce back again, sir. So yes, as you can see, we have a good mix here today in our panel. We have exports, industries, and again employment, and again the operators, DMC. So if you can see the connection here, what we are trying to come up with is like it's integrated, it's integrating. So we need to look forward how we can bounce back, get back to the real tourism that we were looking for, and get the support of other industries as well. So going a little bit further now, moving into the next round of this session, we will go a little bit deeper and see what we can discuss. I would like to move to Dr. Sulochana for the second question. Madam, you know, when it comes to the employment, when it comes to labor force, there are two things that we can discuss: employer and the employee. So as you can see, certain organization in Sri Lanka, they recruit a lot of females. Like they proudly say that they have 50-50 ratio. So that comes within the business. Nobody forces. And again, if we see the other party, the employees, sometimes people, like, we should encourage them to apply. Maybe they're scared. Like a couple of years back, maybe people are thinking tourism is not for women, kind of a phobia, and like it's changing slowly. So what I really would like to ask from you, madam, like how would you encourage women participation especially in tourism sector? We have travel agencies, we have hospitality sector, so transport sector. How would you encourage, like with your expertise, what do you suggest, like how can we encourage female participation?
You said there is a view that women should not be into hospitality industry. So I'm coming from my generation was that phobia, right?
Yes.
So our father, being a journalist, he said you can choose any job, but don't go to a hotel or being a air hostess, right? Those, being a journalist, he was. So I always want to know what is it there, right? That women are not. But when time came, I realized it's not a phobia, it's a culture which has been inculcated from the school, because our teachers also now, I go and do programs in schools, so principal itself said these are girls, so just tell them about being accountant, being the traditional employment is preferred by, I think more than the parents, it's from the school itself comes, because teachers are unaware about the new employment opportunities, right? And they are the one who choose. If you are a best student, if you have got good results, go and do maths or science. Arts comes to children who have not got good results. But if you look at the employers in this country are the people who chose arts, because they are creative. We have two brains, left and right. One is logical, one is creative. So creative people make jobs for logical thinkers to come and work, I think. Because being a business, being an entrepreneur, this is what I have seen. So it's not that there is a phobia. I think that's a thing that being told to girls, it's not good place for you. I'll come with what General said. He said, why we look externally, why not we look internally? And he said, we should, have we ever developed something or have we taken it for granted? He said, we don't have skills. This is Colombo University. If you ask Professor Suranga how many students are coming out, and if you interview students what you want to do, they want to just go and work for someone. Are they ready to be employers? Are they ready to change the industry? So I think it's not the industry issue, it's the people attitude and perceptions that has to change, right? And employer and employee, women are in the employment, but we have to understand there's a column called in the labor department. If you look at our statistics, called unpaid employees. So most of unpaid employees means who contribute to business, but they are not getting a share of profit or not being paid. Those are women. Those are the women who helps men to run businesses. but they are not being identified as employers. So these are the people whom we have to identify. And he correctly said about we have so many things to offer, right, if we really look at it. But I think Sri Lanka, he said we are promoting, I don't think we are promoting at all. We are promoting so much of negativity than positivity, right? We have so much of positive things to market. Our social media is the best thing. But unfortunately, as he said, the first bubble, the social media itself put it out that it's a chaos, right? So it's, I think, we have to get some rules and regulations, some policies to ensure this country has some positivity being put it out rather than negativity. And getting skilled employees, there's so much of unemployment in Sri Lanka because per day I get more than 20 applications for male and women who are returning back from overseas, especially from the industry, asking, we are looking for jobs, we are looking for jobs. But the saddest point is, they look for the perks and the things they are getting there, trying to match it here. So I always say you cannot get the same perks here because end of the day you are not spending money like there. So that is the, I think that's the attitude we have to change. And employment, there is employment if you get more women. I think more women are looking for jobs if you really can give the skills. I saw recently when I was traveling during the COVID, I saw so many women. I went and spoke to them in the airport because I was so upset why these women are going as housemaids while we are lack of women here. And they prefer to go and cook. They prefer to go and clean. They prefer to go and babysit. Why can't we get them under tourism board and skill and get them back to the hotel? That cannot be changed by them. It's a culture, it's a religion, it's a society, it's the schools, it's the parents who has to change. I think if we change that, Sri Lanka can move forward.
True. Doctor, as you said, we have to look at how our culture has been not changing, how we can improve the culture from the schools, giving the correct message. Because I saw in Netherlands, they will teach only up to grade 5 and they will teach them they will direct them to industry. So basically they are trying to create more skilled labor from their youth. And again, attitude is something very important. I totally agree with you, where we can help them to create to generate their build their attitude towards the industry. Thank you, madam. And I'm sorry about the background noise. I think some people are working on it. I'm sorry about that. Apologies. Moving into general. In the ministry, you talk about diverse, high value-added industry, high economic growth, more employment, environment sustainability, regional industry development. Those are huge areas that the country is depending on. Now, we have several sectors within the tourism sector as well. So I would like to ask from you how the tourism industry can be integrated with the Ministry of Tourism. I saw a couple of initiatives that you have started. So how can the tourism industry can be integrated with the industries? So what are the opportunities that we have as a tourism industry, sir?
Yeah, thank you for that question. If I may, to harp a little bit on what you started, saying if you look at the industrial ministry or the industries in Sri Lanka, we talk about the national economy. When you take the GDP of the country, it based on 3 major pillars. That's one is the service sector that we are talking about, giving about 57, before the COVID, it was around 57% of our revenue came from that industry to the national economy. Then 27% came from the industrial sector, the manufacturing sector. That's the second pillar of an economy. Then the third one is the agrarian, which gave about 8% before the COVID. So industrial ministry, actually industrial sector, the manufacturing sector is the sector that we got to develop. When you look at the manufacturing sector, we are saying 27% income, out of which about more than 60-70% is coming from our garment industry. The garment industry is also not a very good thing to promote, and just because the margins that you have, if you're talking from the commercial point of view, it is very less and very thin. So therefore, the developed countries won't get into it. But we have, if you look at the way that everyone is talking about, look at the opportunities available based on your ground realities and expectations from the military. We always think that as a leader, we look at, when we are given a task, we look at the objective, we look at the goal, we look at what the expectations, but when you're planning, we base on our realities only, we always plan. Here, it is something against that is happening in this country. That is the very reason that we are not giving the best we have, marketing the best we have in the country. So as a result, now say we as the military, the Ministry of Industries, we look at with the tourism industry, when you look at whatever the areas that there may be 3 or 4 or 5 areas in the industry. So we take all those things as opportunities actually, whether it is operators or we look at it as a business or kind of an operation. We take it as an opportunity, because whether you are developing infrastructure or doing interior like this, or moving people from the other one place to the other, all industry finally is required, even aircraft. So finally revolves come back to industry. So everything basically, whatever it is, coming back to the industry. So all these sectors, the industry has a part to play. So that is why we have to integrate all these things into one system when you're planning. So the policy formulating policies, you got to look at it from that perspective. So then the other important thing is that one thing, if you look at the Ministry of Industry, how we are organized. Now actually this time we have gone little beyond the normal system of organizing a ministry. The ministry has the main cabinet ministry is making the policies. That is mainly policy and formulating and implementing and monitoring. That part is the responsibility of the cabinet ministry. Then we have divided the ministry into 3 other parts, state ministries. One is looking into clay and other things that we have again in Mativada ministry, but it's not a joke and it's a huge opportunity that we have. The clay, if you talk about Manushan, in this country, we have the best clay available in the world here. We are not taking it. So now Suresh was saying that we have the best tea, best rubber, best whatever we produce, whatever available in this country is the best. Even the human is the best quality, but only thing we have not properly exploited this potential or the resource that we have. The clay industry, we are bringing in large quantities of clay, giving a lot of dollars outside to China, for even for our little children to do their clay work. The Mativada karanda, you know, Laminda, we bring in clay from outside, where we have the best clay. Then we are cleaning up all the irrigation, the lakes and the major reservoirs that we are cleaning up. So cleaning up and take the sand out and throw out the clay. It is like throwing the gold and taking only the iron part or something like that. The clay is very valuable, but we have not understood. So if you look at Noritake and porcelain, the Dankoto porcelain, the world standard they have achieved. So because of the clay or the raw materials that we have here in this country, this is one area that I am talking about. Likewise, there are a large number of, there are 2,000 to 3,000 some clay, the tile manufacturing small factories being closed here because there is a lack of clay. So on the other side we have the best clay. So here we have looked into this. That ministry is basically looking into that, and it's a handicraft and other things. So they are looking into. Then the batik industry. There is another industry that we can go to the world. We have the best quality, skilled people, knowledgeable people, so that we can go. The other is the gem and jewelry. Gem. Someone was saying that Suresh was saying that Thailand is making 10 times more money than we are. So we are no value addition. So here, then all these things integrated into the tourism sector, and we can get the tourists to go and experience these things. And there's called experience tourists, or people who want to get hands on these things, and we want to see how things are being made. So if you can integrate all these things and nicely develop a concept, if we can promote that concept out, we will be able to do much better than this. Because if you see what I want to say, the tourists, the other thing, few points that I took out here to tell you, but so basically, see the top level, the ministries we have organized to integrate all the other things. Then the other thing that people going and experiencing, that is another area that the people in the tourism sector, you must be knowing, people are coming to see here, not only like earlier, just to go to the beach alone, but there are so many things that we can offer. So the industrial ministry look into all these things. But what happened here, the only one, it doesn't come under one ministry here. It comes under number of ministries. So we are formulating now, getting all these ministries together, including tourism and other ministries together. We are sitting a number of ministries together and formulating committees. And then we have people taken from the industry and formulate various consultative committees. Under tourism, under Ministry of Industries, we have 21 consultative committees being formulated. And they are looking into all aspects, how to promote these things to not only the tourist sector and all other sectors. If you take the tourism sector, there are so many things that we can promote, from the original Sri Lankan top class stuff to be promoted and exploited into the tourism industry and outside. That is how we are looking at. These are the opportunities available. It is for operators and businesses. There's so much of opportunities available here, Madhushan. So we have to exploit this nicely. For that, we are formulating, actually first time after 73 years of independence, now we are looking at formulating a concept actually here, the industrial policy for the first time. By mid-next year, we will be sending out this formulating of industrial policy for the country. That will reflect all these needs into that, and then we can exploit it. And similarly, other line ministries involving in various things, they are also formulating these things. Hopefully, by mid-next year, those ministries, all the ministries will have their industrial policy, which will get reflected in the national policy, without which we will be talking for next 73 years or 75 years, nothing will happen. So without it. So finally, I want to take this thing. We have been fighting for 30, because my background is military, I must tell you. We have been fighting for, we all know that we fought for 30 years, and about 25 years we have been fighting without a proper guideline. We are just fighting. The soldiers are isolated in the battlefield. When the politicians going in a different direction, the people were going on a different direction. Military was isolated in the battlefield alone. So we integrated all these things together and formulated a concept, national concept, that's called humanitarian operation concept, which united all three elements: the government, the conceptual element, we call it, then the moral element, the people, and the social. We got the society mobilized into it. Then everybody back the soldier, and soldiers started delivering it. We were given 5 years. Finally, we achieved within 2.5 years. How finally, if I may put that in one sentence, winning a war, winning a national, macro level problem, solving. You have to get all elements of national power, all elements of national. This is how we did in the military. Or we transform all elements of national power into a military capability and got the soldier to deliver it at the right place, in right form, in right quantity and right time. Then we won the war. without which we will not be able to finish this. Even to win tourism, bring tourism, successful in tourism or economy or anything, we have to bring all elements of natural power into that and develop that capability and get those people who are delivering it to support, without which these waiters and all these people who are doing their job get isolated. That is how I, as a soldier, look at it. Thank you.
Thank you, General. It's so encouraging while you are talking about the policy framework that you're going to bring in, like even the pre-discussion that we had, like you have that intention to get everything into one platform where you can deliver easily and all the operators can join with the ministry. So again, as you mentioned, like tourism also has opportunities. There will be entrepreneurs, SME sector, as Mr. Suresh mentioned. So I know your arms are open for everybody to join with the industry, and especially the service sector as the tourism. So thank you, General. Moving into Mr. Suresh, again, we know that the Expo Development Board plays a major role, and you are telling and you are mentioning the products that goes out of the country, like how we have not captured the market in the previous question, and even like we have enough of tourism related products and services in the country. Tourism is an export sector. So how, if I ask you this specific question, what will be your thoughts and ideas of how we can increase the production and sending it out, because like you are a matchmaker when it comes to exports, like you connect people. So how do you see, like what are the opportunities that we can promote tourism exports, sir?
Yeah, thank you. Several years ago, there was a wide range of consultations, and we came up with a national export strategy. The industry was heavily involved with identifying what exports should be highlighted for the future. And two of those, by the way, are tourism related. One was wellness tourism, which has already been developed, and now the tourist board is doing the promotion, or Tourism Development Authority is now promoting wellness tourism. The whole strategy and everything was developed by us. And currently we are developing nautical tourism. And of course you will realize that there is hardly any nautical tourism infrastructure in Sri Lanka for recreational boating or something. I'm in the industry and I know how difficult it is to operate a boat or to park a boat, recreational activity in all the water we have around Sri Lanka. Okay? So EDB is in charge of developing the infrastructure and boat building, because boat building is a big industry in Sri Lanka. And we have exported boats to the top markets in Norway, in Scandinavia, as well as even places like Dubai, where there is a big boat manufacturing industry. And today I was talking about the possibility of having access to boats to India, because India doesn't have a manufacturing of recreational boats. So we have huge opportunity in those two sectors, as well as ITBPM, that is the business process management field. Then we are promoting spices and allied products, processed foods, pretty much. And finally, we are also doing ITBPM. I said the two tourism ones, ITBPM. I forget it. Anyway, one of the things that EDB now has to do under the present situation is to look at the COVID scenario, which people call the next normal or normal, and I just the never normal. So we might have a continuously variable future. And how do we prepare for that? You know, we have to have an agile industry in order to do that. We have to look at the emerging markets, exploit those markets. And we are currently working very closely with the foreign missions as well as the embassies, foreign embassies in Sri Lanka to develop market linkages as well as to understand market intelligence, you know, to get market intelligence. So I think a lot of things are changing also with awareness. Like I said, the most important thing is awareness building. And today with this Zoom technology, which wasn't there 2 years ago, nobody thought of the kind of bandwidth we have to build awareness today. You know, we used to have a hard time. If you physically meet, we might have 50 people. From the regions, I used to remember that 150 people was a huge number to bring together. Today, we have regional SME meetings that attract 1,000 people. And that is maximum, is probably much more than that. And I had an awareness program in South China, in the Fujian district, where we attracted 12,000 participants. Now this is going to be amazing, okay? Now already we are seeing, because of this trade shift going on where, you know, our biggest market is the US. So there is a boom in the US. All the people who export to US have more orders than they can provide today. And you will see that the numbers are going up, export numbers. I just finished with the October numbers, and it's remarkable. There's been amazing, I don't like percentages and all, but I can see the graph going like this. I look very good. People like to put my picture against those graphs. But I commend the exporters for their resilience through this pandemic. And this shows that Sri Lankans have what it takes, even during a crisis. I mean, we've had so many crises, like for 30 years, like somebody was saying about being positive. That's what we need today. We have a lot of opportunity. If we can, of course it's going to be mandatory. We talk about inclusive development. It's going to be mandatory that we gather the small and medium and the small producers, everybody into this, because the whole world now, if you look, the gap between the rich and poor have increased. So whatever we do, we have to be conscious about that gap, because the wider that gap gets, the more trouble we brew. So I think that I will quote His Excellency, whose one advice that rings in my mind is that මොනවා කරත් කමක් නැහැ, පොඩි මිනිහට මොකක් හරි ලැබෙන්න සලස්වන්න, you know, and that මගේ ඇඟ හිර වැටෙනවා ඒක කිව්වමත්, because that was, I feel like, you know, he probably chose me for this position because he knew I had a heart for that, and you know, there is so much untapped resources in this country outside of Colombo. We are all talking about very, I think it's very limited, the knowledge about this country that is here in Colombo. You know, whether it is tourism resources, whether it is export, and most of what is happening is that the producers are not being developed because the regions are full of SMEs. And if those SMEs are developed, then we will start getting the quality of product we need for the premium markets, whether it is tourism or whether it is exports. And Sri Lanka is a small country. We cannot compare ourselves to Bangladesh or Vietnam or countries like that, or a trading economy like Singapore. No, we are a unique country. First thing is we need to understand we are unique, and we can be the best in the world in many things, that's fine. But how do we get that quality product out the door and to get a premium price for it so that the producer can have a fair share of that money, you know? So that's my...
Thank you, sir. Just in case, I just wrote in a couple of numbers. I saw that you did 1,099 million. That means like 1.1 billion on July month. which is a huge achievement. And as you said, like it's
best October ever.
So, yeah. Again, as you mentioned, sir, like the development of the regional sector, and again the small SMEs will help, as we have a lot of huge opportunities when it comes to exporters. So the infrastructure and the encouragement has to be given to them from the government or the investors. So you will have better products to go and market in different countries, isn't it, sir? So thank you very much for that.
I would like to add something that is very critical, and I think General Daya touched on it. Today, if you ask the consumer, everybody will say that government institutions are not working together. And that is a huge problem, because that is causing a lot of unnecessary duplication and confusion more than anything. Where the public is confused, where do they go? You know, how do they get the assistance? There are too many agencies, okay? And in this devolution of government power into the regions, we have this district level of governance, you know. All that is causing huge complications. And one of my biggest challenges was to figure out how many, there are 16 ministries for agriculture. Okay, 16 ministries. And imagine the state ministers and the number of departments. Each of those ministries, I think, have about 10 departments. Right? Now, keeping all these together, now I'm very happy that I have a personal friend as the Secretary of the Ministry of Industries, because for exports, Ministry of Industries is critical. And it's fantastic if I can just pick up the phone, and I always talk about how my first week in office, how General Daya helped me to, answer some questions about the port. And today awareness is what we need, and to build trust among ministries. And I must tell you, it's very disheartening to see that, we have, Sri Lankans are a friendly group of people. I mean, in general, even tourists tell that we are very, very friendly. Okay? However, how did we become so untrusting? I think socially we are still very friendly, but when it comes to business and all, we are in our silos. So this is a cultural thing, and I think that His Excellency understood this very well and picked a bunch of people who get along to lead in government organizations. And I think that this is what our mandate is, to collaborate. And if you look up post-COVID, the whole world talks about collaboration as opposed to competition, because we cannot afford competition anymore, and we cannot afford duplication anymore. The whole world cannot. And Sri to particularly think about that, and I think that's a message I've been talking about in every webinar, because there can be huge duplication and a costly duplication if we don't collaborate.
Sure, sir. So as you mentioned, the communication is really important within the industries, so you can take another huge step forward to develop this. So thank you for this, sir. Moving into Mr. Nishad, we know SLTE has its tentacles, roots all over the country. So you reach everywhere, you gather people, you work with a lot of people. We say national guides, whale watching providers, like all the ways. So since this panel is about inclusiveness, where we have to gather everybody, so what is your perception and the approach when it comes to next couple of months or years during the pandemic? How are you going to include the local community a little bit more than what we did to help the industry?
Okay, thanks. So I think just to start off, SLTE is Sri Lanka Association Inbound Tour Operators, and we are about, I think, 40 odd years old now. And we are the DMC community in this country, so we are the inbound tour who bring in the tourists into the country. We go out there, we spend money, promote, and bring the tourists in. We have a membership of about 192 DMCs who are what we call full members, and we also have another category of what we call associate members, and we have about 53 associate members. Now the 53, what we categorize as associate members are essentially people or businesses that provide tourism related services to the DMC industry, or those are the guys we work with in the regions and in I mean, like you said, like the whale watching guys, the jeep safari guys and all of that, who provide a service for the tourist in any corner of the island. Of course, recently we have also expanded that scope to a one industry, one voice concept, where we have a lot of regional hotels associations, chambers of commerce and other industry people who have joined in, so that we band together, especially with this COVID problem, and so that we can work things out for the industry. Now, so basically, if SLTE has always worked with, we have always included the small guys and the guys in the regions who provide tourism services for tourists who work with us in all of our activities. That is why we have this special category of associate members. And also, contrary to the general belief, 90 to 95%, I think, of SLTE members are from the SME sector. I myself am a very tiny company, right? So SLTE, we work on a very sort of democratic way, and however small your business is irrelevant, and always in whatever we do, we include the small guys, the big guys, everybody is in the mix, so that whatever decisions that are taken, I mean, after all, we are the apex body representing the DMC community, so whatever we do, whatever we lobby has to trickle down to everybody within the DMC community, as well as who's supporting us. I mean, if you take hotels, they are kind of standalone, whereas we are the ones who put everything together. So we bring in all the small service providers from all over the country, and we sell their products for them. Or basically we buy, not that we buy them, but we actually sell it for them to the tourists that we bring into the country. So therefore we take that responsibility very seriously, and that's from day one we have always worked like that, and we continue to work like that. And I mean, if you look back at SLTE committees, what you call office bearers, everything, you will always find that every category of members, every category of every size is represented within that thing. Something we started 10 years ago, soon after the war ended, was a concept called Sancharaka Udava. I'm sure you have heard about it. Dr. Suranga has been very supportive, and so has the university. So Sancharaka Udava was when we thought, actually it was one of our former past presidents, Mr. Nilvin Nanakara's bright idea, where we thought, now the war is over, we need to get things off the ground, and it is our responsibility to bring in all the small guys in and let the communities. End of the day, what are we selling? We are selling what our country has to offer. So if we are selling those regions, I mean, it is our responsibility to make sure that those people also benefit both economically and otherwise from the business that we are doing. So therefore, we thought of this concept was perceived, and then we started this program in a very, very small way. I still remember the first Sancharaka Udava that we had was at it was the Ceylon Continental then. Even Kingsbury hadn't taken over, but it was just before Kingsbury was taking over. So soon after this, they closed it down and then did it. And we created a platform for all of these small guys in the regions to come into Colombo and have like an exhibition like what you are having here today, right? And we gave them the opportunity to expose their products, And we ensured that our DMC members and their staff visited the exhibition, and as a result they got the exposure they needed to market those products. It just took off from there, and the last one we had, which was 2018, actually 2019 also we had it, even after this thing. We had a footfall of about 15 or 20,000 in the 2 days, and we had 254 stalls, and majority of those stalls were all small guys, right, from the regions. And the PCO or the exhibition organizer whom we have worked with is a guy we worked with from the beginning. And he, every time we start on this project and we sit together, he says, now at least this year tell me that you all are going to increase the price you are charging. And we say, no, this is a service we are doing and we need to. And of course, we have always had the full support of the Sri Lanka Tourism Promotion Bureau. They come in as our principal partner, and the sponsorship that comes in. Because also SLTDA, I don't know whether you're aware, but SLTDA has a community development side to it, where they look at the local community benefiting from the tourism industry. So from that angle also, actually they are really pleased that we are doing something like this, because we are actually encouraging and giving a stepping stone for these people to come. And over the years it has developed. Now it has come to a point where it's not only just an exhibition. We hold different like workshops and stuff on the sidelines. We invite, and we actually, all the line ministry agencies that work with tourism, like wildlife, like tourist police, like cultural fund, all of them are given free booths at the fair, so that they can be there, and our members, it benefits our members also, because any issues they have, they can go and talk to them. Then we also give opportunities for them to do presentations and have workshops while the thing is going on. And of course, the undergraduates especially from Rajarata and Uwavellas as well as Sabragamua, they come and we give them space as well, and they really enjoy it, and they get the exposure, they get to meet the DMCs, they get to meet the hoteliers. So those are going to be their future employers. And and we bring in all the government, like I said, the line ministry people into the mix, so that it's like a big melting pot, and everybody gets to meet and discuss everything on a very sort of informal level, rather than and it's amazing the amount of the stuff that gets done during Sanchara, the 2 days of Sanchara Kudava is amazing what it does for the industry. And of course we do have one evening we have a massive like a cocktail dinner kind of thing for all the participants, and then we invite all the government people as well. So again, that is another way of networking and things like that. And actually it has been a great success. We are actually we unfortunately couldn't have it in 2020 and 21. But there are scheduled dates in May for 22, and we are now started working towards it. So that is the kind of responsibility that SLTE takes towards creating an inclusive culture in the industry, and bringing in all these small guys from the regions and giving them the opportunity to develop themselves and to benefit from the trickle down of the tourism dollars. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. As you know, SLTE plays a major role in the industry. You basically go out of the country and you market all the products, the hotels, the services and everything. You spend a lot of money and time, and you bring them in. And as you mentioned, as you said, you distribute it among the community, which is very important for us right now, because since it's Mr. Suresh Forte to get dollars in, you get dollars in too.
If I can just add a small thing that just came to mind. So in the beginning of last year, we commissioned E&Y to do a survey, because we thought, a lot of people don't understand what the DMC industry is, what the DMC does, what is the role it plays in the whole tourism food chain. And what came out of that, we of course picked the year 2018, which was the last good year for tourism. What came out of it was that 62% of hotel occupancy is brought in by SLTE membership, 62%, right? 11.5 billion rupees is contributed to the government coffers just by just through the Department of Wildlife Conservation, the Central Cultural Fund, and those other places where we pay entry tickets for the tourists to go in. So, so that way, so that is the role we played. And also, when you look at the tourism numbers that were brought in to the country in 2018, 70% were brought in by SLTE members. So I just wanted to share those numbers with you because just goes to show the role that we play. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And again, since you mentioned Sanchara Budawa, how it started in a very small scale, so I would like to thank the steering committee who has organized the Sri Lankan Tourism Expo along with the the University of Colombo. And since you just mentioned that you're going to have it next year, Colombo University would like to always help with the proceedings. So moving into the next one, since the time restraints us, I'm going to ask the most toughest question right now. I'm going to ask from all four of you. Maybe you can take 1 or 2 minutes and explain. I know it's not fair to ask this question. In this panel, or when it comes to your perception, so can you just bring out and tell one major thing that we should highlight, the industry should look into when it comes to your backgrounds? Someone, anyone can take the chance and start, if you may.
Can I talk?
Yes, madam.
I'll just connect all these three because I'm on to that. I'm coming from a corporate background. When I started my business, there was no forums, trainings or anything, right? It's fail and success and fail and success. So when I started my business, I realized that Sri Lanka has so much of potential, but then again, how to come forward. So Women in Management was started 12 years ago in Sri Lanka as a first professional women service providing organization, registered as a private limited liability company, not as an NGO. We were the first, right? Because I never believed that women should be funded or empowered if they cannot stand up from their feet. So started in Sri Lanka, and then what I realized is we have so much of women who are professional, educated, but world knew about us as housemaid, as tea pluckers, not disrespecting, but we never branded our professional or women businesses globally as women leaders. And we speak about the first Prime Minister. After that, we never speak about anything. So I wanted to change that. So after that, I realized there are a lot of women entrepreneurs, and women entrepreneurs in Sri Lanka was taken as empowering or something like they were depending on people. So I actually under WIM, we have up to date, we have trained nearly 25,000 women entrepreneurs, not on skills, because I don't believe that a producer can be an entrepreneur. Production is one aspect of entrepreneurship. So what we did was changing them to think as entrepreneurs, and also to till end of the product, and also retaining customers and bringing personality. From 25,000, I can happily say 30% are in the local market and 10% are in the export market. But what I realized was while we having all these product showcases and bringing travel and tourism, we brought in 2012 10 powerful women in global to Sri Lanka, not just as women, for them not as invested, for them to look at women products. And wherever we went out of the country, every year we goes out except last 2 years, we 99%, I personally wear only Sri Lankan manufactured product because I believe in walk the talk. So in 2015, 16, I exported first female service brand called Top 50 and Women in Management to the global. That is in Canada, now in Maldives, now in Australia, now just Pakistan, and just working with USA to open it. So it's not just, export is not just exporting a product. You can export your professionalism also, right? And we do a lot of exhibition without going to that country. Because we women has a lot of restriction to leave the families. We have found Sri Lankans living there, and also we have registered in globally as a manufacturer of products. So whenever they have exhibition, they say, okay, can you send this out? So we are already selling it. We don't need to go there. So I think that's what we should be putting, not just physically, but we also can, and I'm so proud that Women in Management Canada, all Sri Lankans knows about WIM. So if they even have a wedding, they will call and say, can you make our wedding cake boxes? So they Sri Lankans who are living abroad give business to us. So our village, I know that one of our Ampara ladies are doing these boxes to Canada. Recently we were doing it. So we have been doing it. And I think Sunday I returned from Maldives. Maldives, I've been traveling every month for last 2 years. I was telling you, I felt so sad about my country because so much of tourism, quality tourism were there. And they did business on quarantine tourism. Even homestays were converted into quarantine tourism, right? And the foreigners were European, not only Chinese and Indian. And I stayed there for 4 days nearly, and I kept on asking them how because they said within 3 months, no death for them. And you have a huge tourism coming. So why we have so much of issues? Something is wrong somewhere. I do not know what's wrong. He said, look at internally, don't copy. I always say, be original. Then find a solution than looking at other countries. We cannot be other countries. He said, we are unique. Then our uniqueness, use Ayurvedic, use our things, and find a solution. We know there's an issue. Forget about the issue. Start finding solutions. And I think that is what this conference should give. We all shared good things. Rather than giving issues, there is a future. And we have to look at the future bright way. Stop complaining. Do your part. That's my message.
Thank you, madam. The first, the point that you get, the connectivity is really important as you connect different communities into one place where we can always stand together strong. And I'm really impressed and the knowledge and how you see things when it comes to this matter. And I'm really happy to have you on this panel as well. I can move into other gentlemen.
Yeah, I can wait, but since the lady took us to a certain place, I just want to jump in. Yeah, Maldives. Maldives started tourism post-COVID in the middle of last year. So they were not locked down even for 6 months, right? Reason is that Maldives, one island is one resort, okay? So geographically, they were at a huge advantage and they were able to do that. I am still very proud of what Sri Lanka has achieved, right? I know sometimes you feel sorry when you come back here, but Sri Lanka has to be compared with countries like Thailand, Vietnam, and those Cambodia, those sort of countries, because that is the same geographical thing. India is of course huge. So I think if you look at it now, we were locked down until the beginning of January this year, but I think we have gone way ahead compared to those countries that we actually compare with. I mean, Maldives it's a unique place. But so therefore, if you compare, I mean, Thailand is still not open. Vietnam is still
Said
not
to
open.
compare.
Huh?
We should not compare.
No. So that's what I'm saying. So you compared with Maldives. That's
I didn't say compare. I said we
No.
have to find a way of, Maldives you have resorts.
Yes.
So you can put it when you go to resort,
Yes.
you do the PCR
Correct.
and you put it and come.
yeah. So that's what I'm
Sri
saying.
Lanka cannot do that.
We cannot do that, but still we did it. Because you have to relate to something. No? So I'm not trying to compare and say we did it better than this one or that one, but I'm just saying, comparing geographically, our position is very much like countries like Thailand and Vietnam, Cambodia, Malaysia, who depend on tourism as well. So we thought internally, we came up with the bubble idea, we came up with the protocols, we did all that, and we managed to open tourism out from January. And so much so that when you take the Middle East countries where there's a majority of, not only Middle East, even in Europe, there are certain countries where they wouldn't accept people from India. But if those people had done quarantine in Sri Lanka for 2 weeks, they were allowed in. So that way, Sri Lanka did get recognized as a country that was managing things properly. What I said earlier is that, I mean, unfortunately, the normal way of tourism didn't happen. We had to get to this point to lobby. But obviously, when you look at the number of hotels that are still sticking to the quarantine business, they still feel that that's a better business model. So actually, that is something we thought locally and grew locally and came up with locally, together with the Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority also, and promoted. So in Galle and those areas, because the thing has not been done. And also, right now we are in the process of doing webinars with foreign experts for our tour guides, so to give them, to refresh them and give them some soft skills and stuff like that. And so those are the things that we do for the local communities. And also, getting back to ladies, Slide has already decided that starting January or February, we have a committee who's looking into coming up with a way of going out to the rural communities or the communities where areas that tourists visit, and to even go house to house and try to change this perception of our community that tourism is bad for ladies and girls and things like that, and that we need more women to come into tourism. And we look at it very seriously, and we will work towards that starting next year once things open up more better. And definitely we will work towards getting more women into tourism. That's a priority. I'm not just trying to play up to her the ego or anything like that. I'm just saying that is something we are actually doing. So thank you for bringing it up. But yes, we are definitely working towards that. And I'm sorry if I offended anybody with what I said.
No, thank you, thank you, thank you, Mr. Jadruga. It's I would love if I had more time to spend on friendly arguments and get to the right point, like the time restrict us. So as you said, like it's really important to look into those factors. Thank you very much again. Like I personally proud of myself that I had you at the panel with me today to discuss these things. So shall I move into the gentleman, please?
Finally, thank you very much once again. What I want to say that we, for last 1.5–2 hours, we have been criticizing ourselves and telling other people are doing better, we are not doing better. This is where we have gone wrong. We did the same thing for 25 years. And so then we developed the concept development. You need to have the top country leadership synchronize that into the people into the physical actions. So in the military we say there are three major components in resolving major issues. That's the conceptual, moral and physical. So these three things, as I told you earlier, and the three things are going in different directions. So, we synchronize it and got it. That is how we won the war. Then similarly, this is an issue. Then in the country, we are going through a lot of problems. We have volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and a lot of ambiguity. Here is no discipline in the industry. No people are coming to work, and everything is in haphazard and ad hoc manner. So we got to transform this ad hoc into strategy. That's it. That is what we did. In order to do that, you have to have a proper policy formulated. That policy formulate, and you implement it. When you implement it, don't allow other people to give their views and all that. So like Saddantya, the main task coming into the village, you eat whatever you want and all the dogs are barking. You are not going to fight with the dogs, you do it and go out. That's how the concept has to be. This is a serious situation in the country. And here we all have to get together and formulate a national concept of developing tourism. If the government is not doing, get the tourism industry people get together and develop a concept, pressurize the government to do it. And that has to be integrated into all the other areas. And without trying to follow Singapore, Maldives and all other countries, which we have been doing for 25 years, couldn't find a solution, look at ourselves and look at inward and found a solution. We develop a concept. We develop a concept called humanitarian operation. We marketed it and people accepted it. Everyone was for it. And once the people, in a democracy, when the people accept it, then we have to implement it. Then we made it very transparent. The war was brought into your living room. So you are watching it, how the way happening. So the mistakes we saw, this happened, that happened, the success we shared with people. So likewise we maintain. There are so many people, there are thousands of thousands NGOs came and told us, no, this is not the way to fight. We told them, if I may use, that word I will not tell them. But anyway, in a forum like this I must not say that. But we told them, this is our concept, this is our strategy, this is our plan. We are implementing it. If you agree, you wait here. Not agree, out you go. That's it. And thousands of NGOs left out, and we did it. So many people, the media, everybody we told, okay, this is the concept, you write in this fashion. If you're criticizing, give your reasonable reasons. Likewise, when you are in a difficult situation, you have to resort back to basics. So here, the entire country must resort back to basics. When the cricketers are failing regularly, what the coach tell them, you resort back to basics. Once you improve yourself, once you develop your confidence, you go and put your bat into an outsinger. That's how it is happening. So likewise, we as a country at this moment, without saying this man doing best, that we must follow Singapore, we must, sorry about this, and this is not to say anything against your concept. We must get examples from other countries, but we have to Sri Lankanize it and put it into practice. That is what is not happening here. We are trying to develop tourism the way that other people are developing in those countries. No, we have to resort back to our original thinking, originals in our, there we have enough and more strong areas to promote. So many areas. So those areas has to be identified. That is the reality. If you have an objective goal, expectations, based on the reality, if you put that if you develop the concept, you strategize it, plan it, and tell the people to do with a strong leadership management system and monitoring system, the country will do very well in tourism. And so we will bring in not 2 million tourism. What is 2 million? If you go to Thailand, there's a Buddhist heritage city in that area. 15 million people coming into that to see that. So here there are enough heritage sites here. Likewise, you take examples and do it. And this is my thing. For that, you have to have the right attitude. Your attitude is the most important. Get that attitude changed. So that once you do that, this country can be taken out from this mess. That is my take from as a soldier. This is how I think everybody does. And finally, we have to go and fight again, another battle. Everyone is doing talking, and nothing happens. And we are also watching as soldiers getting ready for the next war. And are we going that direction? So this is what we have to understand. And we all have to get together and support the government to deliver. If the government is not doing, pressurize the government to do the right thing. That's it. It is not by striking. There are various other ways of doing things. So this is the final word from me. And sorry if I antagonize or did something very strong. But this is a soldier's perception, view. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you, General. I know like there's a lot of burden on your shoulders right now, reformalizing the certain aspects of the government. As I said, the business discipline, the discipline is really important when it comes to a country where we have to be very consistent. And again, as you mentioned, the attitude of people will help us to move forward. So thank you very much, sir. You really decorated the panel by coming here. So it's a very honor to us have a secretary at the panel. So moving to you, Mr. Dimmer. So
Yeah, talking about inclusive tourism or inclusive exports, something that is an issue in Sri Lanka is the informal sector. Now, I think that more than half the SME sector is informal. By that, what I mean is they are not registered, they don't bank in the formal banking system, they are below the radar. And when you are like that, it's very difficult to develop. Because I get a lot of people even coming to the EDV wanting to export some cinnamon as a producer, right? First of all, I have to make them an entrepreneur before they know what quality means, what order volume means, what the price means. Today, a small producer thinks that he makes a big loss. He'll come and say, he has made 500 rupees a kilo loss because he looks at the highest price in the market and anything below that is the loss. It's not the production cost. I mean, this happens regularly with the agriculture sector. So these are things because of the informality and why we are unable to do the premium product that we are talking about. Whether it's the cinnamon, the black pepper, or even the tourism products. Why are we not able to do take Arugambe, is a world-class surfing destination, right? But how are we going to do? That doesn't mean you can go and wipe out the small people and put 5-star hotels. That's not the answer. The answer is to uplift the people. So I think there is a lot of work to be done, and I know Nishad, I've been admiring and following Slido because what we started many years ago forming an organization called the Association of Small and Medium Enterprises in Tourism. That was for the informal sector. Okay, that was really designed for the informal sector. However, it got dominated by the formal sector, and then the formal sector used that organization to challenge Slido, right? But fortunately, Slido managed to get them also involved, and now they are just another organization. But really the value of ASMET, as we call it, is to empower the informal sector. Now, when we formed that organization, now I was one of the presidents when we started the Sancharaka Udava, and I used to come and do discussions with Professor Surang also. At that time, we had to have some formal people, otherwise it would be like blind leading the blind, right? I mean, initially we were thinking maybe the formal guys should stay in an advisory committee and allow the informal guys to manage this, but that was not possible. And so now I feel like ASMET is an organization of the formal informal sector. That's another sector, you see. It's the guys who pay half the taxes, right? So I hope I'm not going to be, But anyway, the thing is, these are realities. We have to understand that because of the SME growth and the inclusive growth in this country is stunted because of the informal sector. And we have to do, the formal people that like us, educators, we have to now build structures maybe institutional capacity, that's what I think should be done, is some sort of private sector institutional capacity around the country, not only in Colombo. We have to have it around the country because a guy from Hambantota is going to find it difficult to be a member of Slido, right? So I was instrumental in forming the first district level chamber of commerce because we need, and General Daya participated with about 30 chambers last week. And it's important because what you talk about at Ceylon chamber level and what you talk at the Hambantota chamber are two different languages. And we have to realize this difference and have solutions, because if we just do one size fits all solutions and try to cover the high end and the low end, that's not going to happen. And that's, I think, part of our problem is not realizing how to cater to this informal sector, how to cater to the semi-informal sector, and then to the big, whether it's industry, whether it's exports, whether it's tourism, it's all awareness. It's all about awareness. And today we have channels with the social media and all that, the Facebook and all that. So we must do these. You know, I think that as much as our social media has become somewhat of a curse for negative publicity, maybe the challenge is to put positive publicity to counter the negative publicity. And I would like to encourage everybody, let's do as much positive publicity as we can to cover the negative public, because there's so much positive happening in this country. And even this budget, I think, is one of the best budgets that I have, the focus of the budget, the target of the budget, you know. It's going to be a challenge to implement it because it's real, think out of the box kind of budget. You know, I hope now General Daya and I have a challenge to get our officers to, you know, come behind our idea of getting these policies right and focusing and KPIs, you know, KPIs in the public sector, wouldn't that be a dream? You know, so that's, I think there is a lot of opportunity for formalizing the informal sector in the private sector as well as formalizing the informal public sector. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. As you mentioned, like strengthening the SME sector is one of the critical things that we are looking to right now. Even that was the general the discussion, even like the general emphasized on. So thank you, sir, for your insights. And again, thank you for all the panelists who have joined today on behalf of the Alumni Association of Tourism Economics and the Colombo University, and again all the other stakeholders and partners. Now I would like to invite yes, sorry, we will give some time for the audience to shoot a couple of questions to the valuable panel. No,
Right, my question goes to Mr. Suresh. He has been shared very valuable thoughts of exports. Sir, would you like to tell us, there are so many SMEs, entrepreneurs in this audience as well. If you could share some thoughts about your opinions about business ethics, because I have watched a webinar. In Sri Lanka, most of the SMEs are having an issue with ethics in terms of exports. I know this will be a good, valuable answer for you, and if you could share some thoughts about business ethics of how we can enter into the exports as SMEs. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Well, that's another very important issue, and thank you. You know, it comes to this informality. And I was talking about why we are unable to reach premium markets. It's because the lack of ethics. I will give you an example. Today we have something very dangerous happening. And that's these e-commerce platforms, where a producer thinks that they can export directly to the consumer, right, through e-commerce platforms. I think e-commerce is, wonderful, but in the Sri Lankan context of exports, it can be very dangerous. Because today we have people mixing pepper seeds with black pepper in front of your eyes. Okay, I mean you can, I've had samples being brought because I spices and I get samples every day. We get somebody bringing in black pepper with pepper seeds. Now imagine if we connect these people to a export market through e-commerce, right? They're going to just ship this. What's going to happen to the reputation of Sri Lanka? They might ship 100% pepper seeds. I mean, that is a big fear that I have because of this informal sector. They don't think of long term. They just have the trader mentality. I mean, that's another important thing. And this is where this business ethics and all that come into play here. Because if you just want to sell it, buy low, sell high, forget about it. Then tomorrow start again. You're not looking at developing customers, you're not looking at adding value, right? So all this comes into because they don't want relationships. I mean, today we have some people, even today, without e-commerce also, just by email and things like that, they are shipping bogus companies. There are no companies. Once the buyers come to EDB and say so and so, we are looking for that person, it doesn't exist. So these are realities that we have to look at, and be very careful that, it is very good. We all want to help the small person. I mean, that is very important. But we have to bring the small person up to that level. We can't leave that small person to their own elements and to develop organically, because it could be very dangerous for a reputation of Sri Lanka, which is full of premium products and premium people. Sri Lanka now in the IT industry, we are recognized as a country that has very intelligent, good workforce for information technology, which is growing like crazy. It's one of the, it's very second largest export from Sri Lanka, service-wise. So we have to look at formalizing this informal sector and business ethics. People have to deliver what they promise. Today Sri Lankans are struggling with quality, with volume. Like if I say they promise me 20,000 kilos and give me 3,000. I lost an order last year because farmers promised me 20,000 kilos. But when I went to get it, I got only 3,000. Some of them are sitting on that black pepper still, and they are trying to sell it to me now. And it's all molded, and I can't, I can't sell it anymore. But these are challenges that, because unless we get out there and somehow, and there has to be a concerted effort. Now I have some field officers who are going and working in the field with farmers, but we also have government field officers who are not that concerned, right? Because they have not been empowered. The government officers don't know what they are doing, right? They are just going and working with the farmer and having a cup of tea, maybe even a lunch, and trying to give the farmer some money to buy something. But those are the things that need to come in our policies, is to the business ethics and all that. My gosh, that's a subject we can talk for weeks. I can give you examples. I think I have an example, at least an example every day of issues with that.
Sure, thank you, sir. Even like the core tourism related products, services, we do have the business ethic products when it comes to undercuttings and skip the certain stakeholders, as you mentioned. So that was a very good insight, sir. Is there any other questions from the audience?
And I'd also like to say that Sri Lanka has some of the best ethics in business. We started with garments, where we could talk about garments without guilt. You know, we were the first in the world. Fair trade. We were champions in the world for fair trade. So, you know, we have the best and sometimes some poor ethics as well.
Sri Lanka has an ocean area 8 times larger than our landmass. As a country, are we capitalizing on it, and how are we looking at it? That will be my first question. Second one is 100 years from now, there might not be a Maldives. So we have a whole tourist potential there. If we can replicate something like that in the Sri Lankan ocean area, like to bring in that tourists. Let's say global warming is real, COP26, we saw not much of action that happened. So let's say 100 years from now, if there is no Maldives, how can we pull in those numbers into Sri Lanka? That is second part of the question. Third part would be, in 30 years now, how do you see Sri Lanka tourism evolving? Because let's say we are 10 years post-war, unfortunately COVID and everything happened, but 30 years from now, how do you see Sri Lanka evolving? Singapore, which is relatively a small country, brings in a large number of tourists, so they're getting something right. So okay, definitely there's a learning from it, but how for us, okay, we have India, Bangladesh, which has a lot of people, how are we going to capitalize? So just being very honest and frank, for the last 10 years, we would have had so many people bringing so many different themes. So how the general said, we need one framework which will hold for at least over a decade. Because when the top is changing, so many changes happen, and you all spoke about the changes in the ministry. So if you can give, like Mr. Suresh, you can start off on the ocean area. I'm not talking about the gas exploration. Have we actually looked at the seabed of Sri Lanka, which is 8 times larger than our landmass? How can we value it? Because I think there should be potential somewhere. Thank you.
Since the question was not directed to a panelist, who would like to? Thank you, General.
I'll take on a few areas. We have a sea area or the ocean area 8 times bigger than the land mass. One question. This is a huge area that we can exploit it. I don't know how Sri Lanka will do it, but I will share an experience of mine which I had in China. This will answer the question somewhat. I was doing my military higher education, we call it military PhD, in China for 1 year in the Chinese Defense University. So we had 4 Sri Lankans, and so total there were 178 foreign officers with 2,000 Chinese officers. So it's so the Sri Lankan, out of all the that represent all 178 from USA and all the countries, India, including India. You may not think Indians will be there in China, but there were so many countries, 78 countries. So then during this period, Chinese were treating the Sri Lankans like anything. We were the best treated people. So anytime, whenever they have some exercise or some issue, the Sri Lankans given preference. So the course mates, they were saying Sri Lanka is not a tiny island in China, in China's perception. Sri Lanka is a continent from China's perception. That is why they have been treated like this. That was a joke among the course. Then one day, actually this joke was going around, and I got close to a professor in the evening while having, we have serious talks in a place in the evening. No, that place we were having something, and we were having it. I happened to talk to this professor, and I asked him, Professor, why you are doing this? So he had some reasons that we all know. China was recognized by Sri Lanka at the initial time into the 1950s, so early, and throughout that we have a very close friendship and so on. But he said, no, it is not the case. You don't know the size of your country. Your country, from Sri Lankan perspective, is, as other people are saying, is much bigger than you think. You think, when somebody asks you what is the size of your country, you say 65,000 square kilometers. That is the answer of 20 million people, he was telling me. But for us, it is not that. Maybe much bigger than even India, your country size, because you have 8 times officially bigger sea area, the ocean area, than your country land mass. So this is where we get involved. So you see the strategic thinking of those people. That is why they have love for this nation. You are located right in the center of the world. You are the gateway to Asia. You are from Asia to Western countries. You are the last port and last place. Likewise, he was talking so much. This is where. So these are the things that our academics, our policy formulators, people who are formulating policies must take into consideration and think. And so for that, we have to change our attitude, we change our this thing. So likewise, so this is one area that we have to be serious of. Then he was talking about other issue. Third question, he was saying, I want to answer that, exploiting. No, just tell, I can hear.
So in 100 years' time or so, Maldives might be underwater. So there is a X amount of tourism that we can look for in 100 years. But to build that infrastructure, you'll need at least another 15, 20 years. Example, Port City. Now, like a floating city or something.
Yes, I understand. My answer is this. For 73 years of independence, every 5 years, virtually, we've had elections. All the elections, our political parties come out with the election manifesto, and that becomes the national policy for that 5 years. The next government come and change that. So there's no inconsistency in policy formulation here. There is no national plan for this country. There is no national, all the political parties' election manifesto become the national policy for that 5 years. These are serious issues. So academics in the other people, the media, everybody must get together and formulate these things and start pressurizing the government to develop a national concept, national policy. Then only you can have next 30 years. How can we see next 30 years when we can't see just 1 year ahead? So this is where we are. So for 35 years, therefore, if you give me another minute, I can tell you, after leaving the army, fighting for this country for 30 long years, sacrificing all my life, the youth and everything into this, came out and we thought that country. When I came out, I started 2 companies. The first company is film industry, filmmaking company. Then the second one is agrarian company, agriculture. So this is my hobby also. So film industry. So in that I have already produced a film that's to promote Sri Lanka. There are so many things that we can take up to the world. We were just looking into the market here. The film industry here is completely shattered and shattered. So I thought we must take it out. We have Bollywood here, we have Hollywood there. So I contacted them. I was working in India for 5 years, and eventually I was living in the Bollywood area. So met a lot of people and promoted. There are so many stories that I told them. They gave me the deal of general, these things. The one film that I have already developed called Day After Independence. Day After Independence. That's the story that I have developed. What is it? We have had so many commissions for last 73 years. But I am saying we never formed the right commission. Right commission would have been on the 5th of appointed on the 5th of April 1948. That's my story. And there you look at the entire history of Sri Lanka, the good eras, bad eras, and what happened during 442 years of colonialism here, and how they destroyed systematically this country, and how we introduced, how they conceptualize these things, how they institutionalize this, how they strategize these things, how they educationalize, introduce these things to national security, all that. So go through all that and formulate a policy. For that commission is to do that. Would have done that. None of the leaders in this country have done that. So we don't know where we are. We are just going like stray dogs running around. To answer that question, I developed that story still with me because of this issue. I am not publishing, but definitely I will do that. So if you have that kind of proper policy, at least for 10 years, 15 years down the line, we can think of all that. For that, we have to set the ground work right, and without which we will not be able to do that. That is why I said, in order to win the war, first thing we did, we changed the attitude, the way we thinking, that we changed that. Then based on that, we developed a concept, we implemented concept with the iron fist. That is how we want it. So without such things, we will not be able to answer. It was a little too long answer, but others can answer the rest.
Thank you, General. That was a long question, long answer, but very informative. We have time for one short question, one last short question if anyone wants to ask on the panel.
Hi, I'm Harid. I'm a student of University of Colombo. During the discussions, you have talked about we can't open the window in Hikkadwa because of the kerosene oils smells. And in Argambe also, I'm from Argambe. So in Argambe also, in the peak seasons, the fishing community and then hotelier staff fighting each other. So because we have 2 or 3 kilometers beach, so we can't shift fishing community to another place, and then we can't move the hoteliers also. So what is the solution for that? Do you have any solution?
If you can give us an insight about that, sir.
He brought an interesting experience I had in the Ampara district. I will tell you a fantastic example. Many years ago, during the wartime, when we had an organization called the Business for Peace Alliance, all the district chambers of commerce came together for peace. I remember my first meeting at the Ampara chamber when all the members were Sinhalese. And Ampara district goes all the way to Potuville, right? And so we encourage, now for peace you have to have multi-ethnic chambers, right? But this was becoming, so I actually threatened my colleagues and said that if you guys don't take Tamil and Muslim people into your chamber, the INGOs will form a Tamil chamber and a Muslim chamber, right? So I remember that there was my colleague from Arugambe, Mr. Jaufer, came and started, and he actually, I told him, don't do this together with Ampara Chamber. But he went and formed a exporter, called it Tourism Chamber of Commerce, and formed it in Arugambe, right? When there was already another Muslim gentleman who formed a tourism association in Arugambe, right? And I was involved in that also. Now there was a conflict, right? Now there was one time when I went there, I said the surfing community is Sinhala. The hoteliers are Muslim. I can't remember the combination. I don't remember these things ethnically. But there was conflict, like you said. So my thinking always is to create a multi-ethnic, multi-stakeholder association where everybody is represented. In fact, I was involved in Hikkadwa. I was giving you an example of Hikkadwa. That was one of the first associations that I was involved in. And we formed the Tourism Association of Hikkadwa, right? And the reason for that was to get the participation of the boat operators, to get them into the association so that we can teach them to preserve that reef, right? But what happened? The association sort of became an elite association and didn't take at least now something that we did in the Hambantota chamber was, we took the jeep drivers from Yala and made them into an association, and then had a representative in the Hambantota chamber board. in order to educate these people and to have people getting along without fighting. There were major issues. Even at Galle, there were major issues. They started attacking jeeps that were coming from Colombo. But you know, that is where I'm saying formalizing the informal sector and institutional capacity building. That is my answer to your question. You know, I could go on for days in this subject because I've tried to do this for 30 years since the beginning of the Hambantota Chamber, which was the first district level chamber in Sri Lanka. It's very important to bring communities together. I have another wonderful success story in Hemmatagama, in the Kegol district, of a Velanda Sangame, Traders Association, where, you know, there are a lot of problems in that area. In Mavanella, there was, you know, for the slightest thing, there was communal problems. So we formed a multi-ethnic Traders Association there. It is wonderful to see 3 people, and we called it the Sitamu community, Sinhala Tamil Muslim community, right? And we have these 3 people who are leading that organization, even to date. And one day I went for one of their meetings, and they had 100 Sinhala kids in a Muslim mosque. And they were saying that they were Sinhala Buddhist kids and they were going to do the same thing with Muslim people, taking them to the temple the next week. So these are the kinds of things that we have to do to build community. Unfortunately, for years, one of the big mistakes we did was to segregate schools. You know, for 25 years, we are Sinhala, Muslim, Tamil, right? And when we did that, after 25 years, you are told, now get together. No, they go and then they make a Sinhala Velanda Sangame, Tamil Traders Association. So we continue to be segregated. And then you have these conflicts. But if we have multi-ethnic, multi-stakeholder groups together, I can tell you a lot of success stories as well. You know, we must not keep these conversations negative. It can be done. In Galle, we have created a fantastic multi-stakeholder group of people who manage the harmony in that town. That's what we have to do, you know. And if you can lead, somebody has to lead though. Somebody has to lead. Because, that's another thing, we have to do leadership training in this country, especially in the regions. So,
sure.
Can I just quickly add another success story going back about probably 15 years after the tsunami? The Travel Foundation UK came and set up something called the Responsible Tourism Partnership in Sri Lanka. And they gave us funding to identify and do things. Basically, the Travel Foundation mandate was to give back to communities that the British tourist visits. So we did several projects, and to date, one of the most successful projects that we did was what is known as the Beach Operator Project. I don't know whether you all are aware of it, right? One of the biggest problems we had, you're saying you have a problem with the fishermen fighting with the hoteliers. We had beach boys, or as they were called, I don't know whether it's politically correct to say that, but bottom line, fighting with the hoteliers in Bentota Beruala. Bentota Beruala was developed as a resort area for beaches, right? And this was a huge problem. They used to kill each other on the beach. And then what we realized, what we identified was, when tourism started in the late 60s or 66, 67, these areas were identified and developed as resort hotels. What happened? All the top Colombo agency houses, blue chips went in there, got the land from the government and built fabulous hotels. The worst thing they did was to build a wall right around their property. Didn't employ anybody from the community or from the area, didn't let them in, and kept them completely out. The conflict, it just kept snowballing and snowballing and snowballing, and that is how this whole problem started. That is why if you analyze Hikkadwa, Arugambe, Alla, Mirissa, Unawatuna, the success story there is that those just those areas just evolved, right? And the entrepreneurs all local. They were not people from outside. So when this happened, we identified the problem, went in there, and actually the project went on for about 2 years or 3 years. We identified the beach boys, and what we did was we brought them, and also not only the beach boys, we had to change the mindset of the hoteliers, and the hotel managers are like, yeah, we understand situation, but this is not what we are told by the owners. So we had to go to that level. We had to speak to the owners. We had to speak to huge company chairman, boards of directors, explain the situation to them, and then we brought the two parties together. And eventually we, of course, these guys were then given some sort of training, how not to harass the tourists and all that. And they were then branded as license given as beach operators. And each crowd was allocated a different hotel. So if they were in Hotel A, those guys cannot go and talk to tourists in Hotel B. And the hotel management also had a good rapport with them. I think, if I'm not mistaken, that system still continues, but that is a huge success story, similar to what resolving our problem of the type of problem that you're talking about. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
You remember Mr. Renton D'Alvis was the one who spearheaded that. It was fantastic. Called them beach guides and had badges and uniforms.
And yes, even going back to that problem, like what the locals are saying, like this is our village, people come from outside and they earn and they don't give something back. So that integration and the inclusiveness.
Absolutely, that is what you call sustainability. Everybody thinks sustainability means you have to look after the environment and not cut trees and not put plastic. Yes, you have to do that. But fundamentally, you have to look after the people in the area. I mean, this is something, I don't know, as a person, as a company, we have, in my small way, we have practiced from day one. And now you find more and more DMCs going in, becoming conscious, getting into systems like travel life certification and things like that, where sustainability is ensured. And the primary thing of sustainability is to support the communities that we visit. If we don't, and they become hostile, end of the day, for tourism, we will have nothing to sell. So we have to understand that, and we have to work towards that.
Thank you. Thank you. My respect goes to the panel for accepting our invitation and gracing this event. I think we have come to the end of this panel today. So there's another, I would like to take 1 or 2 minutes from your valuable time, because we have a partner sponsor that he gives the audience actually 2 tickets back and forth to Dubai and 3 nights in a 4-star hotel. So if you can give me 2 minutes, I can call him into the stage and he can select one of the members, keeping you as witness. Can I invite Mr. Imran from Emirates Holidays? Imran, I think your box is, so someone will be bringing the box.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. So we are here for the 3rd raffle today to Dubai. As Emirates Holidays, we promise to give a raffle to Dubai every day, right? But the basis, looking at conditions, we decide Emirates Holidays, we believe in differentiation and taking different styles based on the situation. So taking today's crowd factor into the mall, what we thought was, during the first raffle, we gave priority to select a winner from a person who is visiting the mall. Yesterday we gave priority to select a winner from this particular audience. Today our focus changed towards the shoppers. I believe integration plays an important role in a success of an economy, of a business, and of a country. That's what I think this panelist said all this while. And I am aware Professor Suranga is doing his best with your support to get this right. Based on that, my team and I of Emirates Holidays, we too, as a responsible #1 DMC for outbound tours from Sri Lanka, we thought we need to recognize and integrate these together. Based on that, we need the shoppers, we need the malls, we need the people, we need the panelists, and we need the academics, and of course you need the business. So while we get together, today we had 2 mystery shoppers shopping around the mall, talking to few of the customers who purchased products. And the minimum criteria we gave them was to try to get at least minimum 10,000 worth product purchased from the mall, to talk and get some visiting cards, and based on that we held the raffle based on the shoppers of a minimum 10,000 purchased from the mall today. Right? So based on that, we have already selected a winner, and the winner's name will be announced by
Moderator,
Madhushan, sorry about it. Right, so tomorrow, the 4th raffle we will be calling. That's again in a different criteria. We will be thinking tomorrow based on the conditions of the mall, and tomorrow I am aware that it's a poor day and I expect the mall to be fully crowded. So out of the 4 raffles, on Sunday, we will have these 4 raffles together and provide 2 tickets to Dubai on Emirates, and the other 3 winners get 3 nights hotel accommodation in Dubai with return transfers. So here we go, Madhushan, to announce the winner.
Thank you, Imran. This is Sarah Faraz Mohammed. That's the name of the winner. Thank you, Imran.
Yes, thank you very much, and hope to see you all tomorrow at the next raffle. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, dear panelists.
Thank you. Thank you for your patience, sir. Now I would like to show our hospitality to you all. So I would like to invite Professor Suranga, the chairman of Alumni Association, Tourism Economics and Hospitality Association, and again the program coordinator for tourism study programs in University of Colombo. Professor. Now I would like to ask everybody to pose for a good picture. So I'll go to the other side. Can I invite Mr. Sumit and the President? Thank you very much for the audience and our online viewers. So we call it a day, and we are hoping to meet you all tomorrow as well with the Expo. Travel safe, stay safe. Thank you very much. Good night. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. No worries, sir. So I'll leave my number with you. I'll leave my